Hi guys, welcome to part 2 on this Peugeot 206 repair. In this video we're going to be going through the masking, the primer and the finishing of the primer, so blocking that out and sanding that down, ready for part 3 of this video, which will be taking us through the prep on the car and then the paint. So part 1, if you saw that, we went through all the repairs. Part 2 in a second, we're just going to start off by going through some of the masking. Now I've jumped some of the masking out just because if I left all the masking in, it'd take too long. So as you can see here, we've just done around the edge of the bumper. Let's put some paper over the tyre for now. Got the backlight taped up and the door handle. Along the roof here, you can see I've gone down the edges of all the roof and across the top of the door. And then I've just masked up on the inside here. I've pulled the rubber off so that when any lacquer or base coat or primer or anything goes through, nothing's going to blow in where we don't want it. And the same just across this top edge of the door. As you can see here, on the inside of the door here, I've just used a bit of the drop poly roll, which is the roll that you see on the roof there, and then gone round the door shut section there and the section at the back of the door here. And again, that is purely so that when we come to do the base coat and the clear, that we're not going to get any of it where we don't want it. It's always better for safety. You could put the soft foam straight in there, but I don't like to rely just on the soft foam. The inside of the fuel caps around here, I'm going to soft foam that up, scotch it up first, soft foam it, and then pop the fuel cap back in, so that when that's cleared over, that's going to leave a nice feathered edge inside the cap. It is only a trade job, so we're not going to go too mad with trying to make sure the masking's too perfect. Right, so what we're doing here is just on the inside of the boot shut here. I'm sticking the tape to the back edge, and then what I'm going to do is continue that up to the top. And then, as you'll see in a minute, I'm going to shut the boot back down, and then stick a little bit of this 2-inch tape back to the tape and fold it back over on itself. Just that way, rather than putting soft foam in, if you do it this way, it will leave the same edge as the soft foam. You're going to get a nice clean edge, and it saves you a bit of cost on the soft foam. And I know it's not all about cost on jobs, but if you can save a little bit of cost here and there on a job from little tricks, and this kind of trick, if you run out of soft foam, you don't want to be sat there thinking, oh, I can't do it because now I can't tape it up. If you tape it up this way, it's absolutely fine. You won't have any issues. What I will say is obviously make sure all them edges, if you're doing it this way, make sure they're all scotched first. Obviously the ideal way of doing it would have all this scotched and prepped beforehand, but being a trade job, it's not something that we've got hours and hours and hours to do. This job was in and out in 24 hours. It came straight in the booth, got repaired up, cleaned down, all blown off, masked, primed, had the IR lamp on it for an hour or so to make sure that primer was well cured through, and this 3-part video was done in a complete day. It was a rush job, but you want to, even though it's a rush job, you still want to make sure it's done right. So, as you can see, I'll just take that back down, and now what I'm going to do here is, I'm not going to put the soft foam in yet. What I'm going to do is tape right up to the edge of this door shut. Now, I'm doing this purely for the primer stage, so that when the primer goes on, this masking tape edge goes right to the very edge of that panel. So none of it ends up inside the door shut where the soft foam is going to touch, and all it's going to leave is a hard edge. And then when we get around to the blocking stage and smoothing the primer out after, we'll just nib that hard edge off, and then we'll replace the tape, take that out, and we'll replace that with some soft foam. Underneath the arch here, again, we're just going to stick some tape to the back of the arch. Always a good thing to try and make sure that someone's pressure washed them out, or you get a cloth with some panel white or some thinners, make sure they're clean so the tape sticks well. So as you can see, I've gone a little bit further in the masking. I've now papered up over the window. I've put some soft foam over that front door edge, and all I'm doing here now is I'm just taking a 400 on the DA with the interface pad and extending out round my repair. Now I'm extending out round my repair so I know that wherever I end up priming in a minute, I'm not priming up over a glossed area. Because on a job like this where I've got a time limit, what I will do is I will prime this up, put the infrared lamp on the primer. While I'm waiting for that to go off, I'll scotch the rest of the panel up, so I'm not stood around for an hour waiting for the job, thinking, you know, what am I going to do now? Am I going to go clean the gun out? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? For me, it makes more sense. Do it this way. I've not got a lot of time on the job, so do it this way rather than wasting an hour of my day. I'm going to get some primer on this, pull the paper off, scotch all my edges up, get everything ready, then block my primer down and do my final clean down and mask ready for paint. So as you can see there, I've just taken a softback sanding sponge and just gone around the edges inside the fuel cap, the edges underneath the door handle and around the trim. Because what I don't want is when I put the primer down now, obviously I don't want that to hit anything that it's not going to key up to. So as you can see here, we've got a little masking station which makes it nice for little primer jobs like this. And what I do is I put my paper down like this. It works pretty much the same way as the tape that we put around the back door. What you do, stick it down and then turn it back on itself. So as you can see now, it's got that nice little air pocket. So when I prime up against this now, there's going to be no hard edge on it. I can keep my primer nice and small. There'll be no hard edges, and I know I've only hit it where I need to hit it, and I know that I'm not going to have to get a block to try and get those edges off, or end up with a defect in it after because I've not quite sanded those edges out far enough. It just leaves you that nice soft edge to the panel. These are the bits, and a few of the tips and tricks, if you will, that guys have asked me to add in. Obviously on something like the Subaru video, I couldn't do this just because the video would end up being way too long. So on a job like this, I'll break this little job down for you guys into 3 parts. That way you get a bit more of an idea of how some of those guys who do it day in, day out do it. And I mean, you might be one of them guys yourself, just like watching the videos just to see how everyone else does it. So here we go, we've got the 2K high build grey primer that we're using. It's a 4:1 mix. I like a 10% thinner. I think it goes down a bit smoother. And then we're going to put 3 to 4 coats on. I'm using the Devilbiss FLG 5. I am using it in a 1.4 setup. Personally, for me this is a gun which I said I kind of do a bit of a review on and add it into this video, just because I have 2 of them, and I don't have 2 of them because someone's telling me that they're great or someone pays me to have them. I've got 2 of them because for something that you can get hold of for, I think it works out as roughly £90 a spray gun, you can't fault this gun. It'll do primer, it'll do base coat, it'll do clear, it'll do direct gloss. This gun will do whatever you want. And this, I know mine looks a bit dirty in this video, but this is now my dedicated primer gun. And I have another one now that I've just used as a dedicated base coat gun, which is the one that you'll see popping up in part 2 of this video, part 3 of this video, sorry. Which is a brand new one that I've just had. Well worth the money, and I have to say I've never had a problem with either of them. So there we go, we've put 3 nice coats on there. First coat went down not too wet. The second coat goes, second, third and fourth if you want it, goes on nice and wet. And all we're doing now is we've got the small hand block. I've got a 240 on the hand block. Now although it doesn't show in this video, and this is a personal choice, this primer as you block it does actually change colour quite a bit. So you can see where you're blocking. So this particular brand of primer, which off the top of my head is the Capsi primer, and we buy it in a kit. It's quite decent for the money. But this primer, you can actually see where you're blocking, so you don't really need to put a guide coat over the top. For you guys that maybe are a little bit less experienced, that want to put a guide coat on, in my personal opinion, an aerosol tin of satin black. Just dust a tiny bit of it over. So I've blocked it all out, and then all we're doing now is once we've blocked all that out and we know that repair is spot on, we've now got the P500 on the sander, and we're just going to sand over all this now just to make sure that all the 240 marks are gone, and that basically when we finish this now, this is all nice and clean, all the deep scratches are gone, and that everything is ready for the base coat prep, and then basically the final painting stage for the car. This is only a little job for me, you know, it's not a massive long-winded job, it doesn't really take too long to do. You know, as you get doing this more often, a little job like this really is what you think. You know, you look at it start off and you think, oh, that looks like quite a big job. It's 2 panels, I've got to blend it all, I've got a load of masking to do. You can knock this out in a few hours easily. As you can see now, I've DA'd all that panel down. Again, I've just got the 500 softback sanding foam going all around the edges, just making sure any of the orange peels out the primer, making sure all the edges are keyed up nice. Don't forget the actual edge of your door. Make sure you sand the edge of the door, because you're going to get a small bit of primer build up. And there you can see me just running that down the door gap. That will just knock off that hard little edge that we had before. Right guys, so that ends part 2 for this video. In part 3 we're going to do the base coat, the lacquer and the blending of both, so you can see how I do it. And again, thanks for watching guys. We've gained a lot of subscribers this week and had a lot of new views. Thank you very much for that, and I'll see you for part 3. Don't forget, if you like it, give it a thumbs up. Thanks guys, and I'll see you soon.